Hello. We are in Arkansas. Glitch God. Let's just narrate this as if it were a movie trailer. In a world, one man will defy the odds. Rise above his own limits. Coming soon to a theater near you. This film was not yet rated. That's it.
So glad to be here with you guys. So glad to be here. This is a voice acting panel. So basically, Kyle and I collectively have probably been doing this longer than most of you have been alive.
We're old.
Right? Am I right? I think I'm right. How long have you been voice acting?
I started in 2000.
Oh my gosh, I started before you did. That's scary.
Dun, dun, dun.
I figured with DBZ you might have been doing it even earlier. But okay, so 2000, so that's 14 years, and
Yep.
I've been doing it probably 15 or 16 years. So we're looking at like
30 years. And most of you are not.
Yes, most of you are not. But we just want to kind of have a little chat with you about anything you want to talk about. So, Kyle, why don't you kind of start off and maybe tell them about how you got started, and you know, and a little bit about you, and then I'll give them a little bit about me, and then we'll talk about them.
Well, in the beginning, the earth cooled, and then the dinosaurs came, and then they turned into oil. Okay, we'll fast forward a little bit. So I came into existence in Lake Charles, Louisiana, in '69, dude. My parents immediately moved to Dallas, where the economy was better, and I grew up being a huge cartoon fan, because what kid doesn't? Watching Looney Tunes and such, and my dad says, one guy voiced all those characters, and I said, that's what I want to do. So probably 8 and 9 years old, that's what planted the seed. And of course, Star Wars came out, the original, episode 4 as it's called nowadays. That transformed my life in the late 70s, and just loving music and everything. I wanted to be a disc jockey. I didn't want to get on stage and be on camera and all that stuff. I wanted to be behind the mic, because I was painfully shy. And I thought that, well, I can be outgoing. I want them to hear me, but I don't want them to look at me. So, strangely enough, I ended up getting a broadcast degree from University of North Texas, and got an internship at a radio network, and worked a whole gig from everything from classic country to heavy metal to kids radio. I literally went from a hard rock station to Radio Disney. That was my next job. That's weird. So come along in 2000, we were like always looking for things to give away. What's the hottest trends? Well, Cartoon Network was number 1, Toonami was number 1, Dragon Ball Z was number 1. So they said, all right, what else? Okay, Funimation, they're in town. Let's go check them out. So they took the tour. We ended up giving away merchandise, and they said, hey, Kyle, guess what? They're having auditions for Dragon Ball Z. Like, yes! So I went in, tried out, got lucky, and that has spiraled and domino affected into everything else since then. So I found that working in voiceover actually helped me kind of defeat my shy demons, as it were. And I love what I do, and here we are today.
I was born even before him. Way back. But I've been acting since I was very young. I always enjoyed performing church programs, school programs, community theater, singing, stage, whatever. And about 15 or 16 years ago, I was living in Houston, Texas, and I was working on a video production with a friend of mine, John Grimion. And John said, you've got a lot of acting experience, don't you? You've done a lot of theater. And I said, yeah. And he said, you ought to go and audition for this place here in Houston. They're called ADV Films. And they buy these Japanese animated things and they dub them into English, and they're looking for actors. And I thought, wow, that sounds fun. When I was a kid, I loved Speed Racer, and Kimba the White Lion, and all of these things that I didn't even realize were anime. But I went and auditioned, and I got cast in Street Fighter II. played Vega in Street Fighter 2. And I figured at the time it was just kind of one-off. You know, it was just that weird little thing you got to do one time years ago. And so I was writing music. At the time, I was writing music for television and radio and producing records for people and doing a lot of advertising, music work. And so I did this one thing, and then I went back to my regular music work. And a few weeks later, ADV called and said, hey, we've got another show, and would you like to come and play a role in it? And I was like, okay. So I did that one, and then they got another and another and another, and the next thing I knew, I was invited to an anime convention, and I had even no idea that those even existed. When I was a kid, I would go to Star Trek conventions, but I didn't even know about anime conventions. And then I was at an anime convention, and I met some people from Funimation in Dallas, 4 hours north. And they invited me to come up and be a part of Dragon Ball Z, actually, as Broly. And so I went up there and did Broly, or Broly did me, depending on how you look at it. And then I started working for Funimation. So I was working in Houston and Dallas, back and forth. And anime was growing, the industry was growing, and as the conventions were multiplying, I would go to more events, and then I would meet people from New York who were doing Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And, you know, Giant Robo and all kinds of different things. And they invited me to come and be a part of some of the stuff they were doing, and so I started going back to New York to do things. And then I would meet people from Los Angeles, and they were doing a great deal of work in Los Angeles, and started going out there. And so I don't even know how it all happened. It was quite a miracle. I maintain that to this day. It was very much of a miracle. It was very much of a gift. I never expected to get involved in it. I never expected it to go where it went. But I am extremely grateful and blessed to be a part of this industry. And you guys are like the best part of it, because to get to go to events and meet you guys and talk to you and interact with you about things that we've done that you enjoyed, things that we've been a part of that have made a difference to you, maybe made you laugh, or it encouraged you through a difficult time, or it helped you reconnect with a friend or a brother or a sister, or even with your parents through something that we've worked on. That's just priceless to us. So that's basically my story. So let's kind of talk about the industry. Anybody that's got a question about voice acting, feel free to raise your hand, and we already have you. Yes, go ahead, caller.
I have a few things for you.
What?
Yeah.
That's not a question. You're not supposed to give me presents. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
No, give it to me.
You could say it in the form of a question. It's like, may I give you a gift? See, that'll work.
This is for your fiancée Michelle.
Well,
And
thank you.
I didn't know her favorite color, so I did it in rainbow. That's okay.
Thank you. Can I put them in here?
Oh yeah. Well, no, I need.
Oh, is that for you?
Yes.
I just want to keep them protected. Thank you, sweetheart.
That's adorable.
So who has a question? Who has a question?
Can I ask you one that's not about voice acting for one? How do you keep your hair looking so beautiful?
You're one to talk.
I never have that problem. I am
But you don't have all the
challenged.
problems that go along with it either.
Right,
You
that's
don't get
true.
made fun of all the time.
That's true. It's like,
Because you wear awesome hats. Is that an amazing hat?
Yeah.
it's sexy. Eric Burton outside in the Artist Alley created this. I commissioned this. He makes hats, so it's
Wow.
not cheap. But if you have money to invest in creating a cool steampunk hat, he's the man.
I was going to go to college, but I decided to buy this hat.
That's right. Now look at me, Mom.
It didn't cost much at all.
No, not much at all. No. Yeah.
Who has a question that is not hair related? And the hands go back down. Yes.
Is there a big difference working for different studios?
Oh, difference in working in different studios. Well, obviously different people, but I would say a more accurate spin-off of that question would be like, what's the difference in the process for different kinds of projects? In anime and video games, the actors are brought in solo. In cartoons, domestic cartoons, the animation's not done yet, so they'll bring in all the actors together as a cast to record kind of like a radio play, do it scene by scene, and that is the most fun because you get to play off each other's performance, you get to watch other people work, and watch everyone screw up, and have an awesome time, and yeah, that's great. You might get a little lead time to practice. They'll email you the script a few days in advance so you can prep a little bit. But in anime and video games, the only thing we tend to know ahead of time is the date and the location of where we have to be. So we show up at the session, the director says, okay, in this episode, your character dies. You go, what? And you're like, okay, just kidding. He almost dies. Then you're gonna play 3 other guys who definitely do die. It's like, all right, awesome. And then we're off and running. And then in anime, you're matching the mouth flaps. It's the animation's done, so it is what it is. In video games, or Japanese video games, we're matching the timing of the Japanese audio because the graphics aren't done yet, and so it's being animated to the Japanese audio. It has to sync up, so it takes 10 seconds to say, oh my god, Godzilla's coming this way. We have to say it in that exact amount of time, for example.
The personalities that are involved in every studio are going to make each studio different. In some way. There are some studios that focus on just certain kinds of projects, like Kyle was mentioning. Some studios are more laid back. Some directors and some people are a little more laid back, and then others are very get it done, get it done, get it done. How quickly can we get it done? Speed, because time is money. So there are definitely variations within the industry, but you are a valuable commodity if you can be quick, if you can be fast and efficient, and versatile is really good. Because it's much easier for them to hire a Kyle Hebert who can do something like this and like this and like this all at the same time. Like in one session you get three characters out of the guy, you know what I mean? As opposed to having to bring 3 people in to do 3 different types of characters. And if you're efficient, for instance, if this girl can record 20 lines of dialogue in an hour, but this girl can record 40 lines of dialogue in an hour, guess which one's probably going to have a better chance of getting cast? Because she'll get the job done faster, which means you won't have to pay the engineer for as many hours of work, which means you won't have to rent the studio for as many hours of work. See? So the quicker you can be, the studios like that as well, because they're trying to make a production on a budget. So that's always a good thing. Being versatile and being quick and efficient. Question? Yes, Weaver.
Do you have any suggestions for anyone who is already an adult and wants to get involved but has no acting experience at all?
Did you hear that? Do you have any advice for somebody that would like to get into this but has no acting experience at all? Yeah, that's easy. Get acting experience. Start now. Start yesterday. Okay? Everybody that I know, with a very few exceptions, every voice actor I know, and I can only think of 2, that did not previously have an enormous amount of acting experience when they came into voice acting. Most of us were acting in some other form. And voice acting was just an extension of our acting. It's different, obviously. There are tools that you use when you're acting on stage that are completely worthless in voice acting, right? If you imagine if you're a stage actor and you're on stage, you could just stand there and look at the audience a certain way and they know what you're feeling, right? Your facial expressions is one way you communicate. Well, that doesn't help you in voice acting, right? Your gestures, your body language, the way you move, the way you carry yourself. I could do that all day, but in voice acting, you will never know what I'm trying to communicate. Your costume, what you wear on stage communicates something about your character. That doesn't help you in voice acting. Your makeup, so many different things in stage acting don't really help. But being able to emote through your voice, knowing what you can make your voice do, and being able to communicate emotion, whatever that emotion may be, is the key to good voice acting. And that's acting at its core. So that's why you find a lot of film actors, famous, movie actors, and you see them in an animated feature, and they're not all that great. It's because they're used to communicating with different tools. Perhaps they have some cute little thing they do visually that you just love, but that doesn't help them in voice acting. See what I'm saying? So it's a different set of skills, but it is still acting. So I would say get into acting classes, get into community theater, start auditioning for things, develop your skills first and foremost as an actor.
If you're dealing with shyness, as I did, you gotta be confident in your voice. You wanna do voice acting, record yourself, read aloud, 10 minutes a day. That's something for free you can do, because I know a lot of people want to say, I can't afford classes, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. Well, while you save your money to take a class, you can certainly read aloud, study acting. Go on YouTube and type in clips on commercials, for example. I know you think, oh, commercials are annoying. It's still acting. Study radio, TV commercials. Listen to the performance and say, what is it about that performance that booked that actor that job? Was it a certain something, a twist on a word, some sort of thing? Study that, because commercials are acting. If there are parts, even if it's just a narration thing, come buy this product. It starts with, the idea, the commitment, and then, the follow through is the long, hard part. But if you stay committed and have a thick skin, we're in the job of auditioning. That's really what it boils down to. We audition more than we actually work. But that's your job, is to audition and be heard. That's worth more than actually booking the job, because if you catch a director's ear, then they'll earmark that, and they may not hire you for that project, but they say, well, we really like what they did in that audition, let's bring them back. And then suddenly you're on their short list. And then oh, good, I'm making progress. But this takes a long time. It's not an overnight process. We both collectively, as we were saying in the beginning, doing this for a long time. So it's not like, well, I tried for 6 months, I didn't get hired. Or I auditioned for one thing I really wanted and it's not meant to be, so I'm gonna go be a carpenter. Nothing wrong with being a carpenter, but I'm saying, it does take commitment. And the dark realistic check, I don't wanna, fill people with false hope here. Not everyone is meant to do this, but I wanna say people that wanna try it, I wanna encourage you to do it, because at least you will have tried. It's better than wondering what if, and having a life of regret going, I hate my job, I really wish I could do something fun like voice acting. Well, why not? Why not? Take advantage of technology. Get online and talk to people, listen, network. That's another part of this industry that we haven't touched on. Meeting other people.
And you know what? Check your motives, guys. Ask yourself why you want to do a certain thing. It's really a good thing. Some people may come to a convention, and see somebody on stage, or see somebody signing autographs, or see somebody that everyone's taking, pictures, everybody's hugging Kyle and taking pictures, or man, I want to do that, I want to be that. Well, that's not a good reason to be a voice actor. And if you think it's so you can be wealthy, think again. In our combined 30 years of experience, we will tell you, I could probably count on one hand the number of voice actors who are very wealthy because of voice acting. It does not pay a ton of money. Now, it is a fun job, certainly, and that's the trade-off, I would probably say. But if you think that you're going to be, famous and have a big house and sign autographs and take pictures your whole life, and that's why you think it would be really cool to be a voice actor, that's not really a good reason. And I've talked to a lot of people in the past at different conventions for years, who there's something about it that intrigues them, but you got to have more than that to really drive you through something as challenging as this. There are certain jobs that you could do, certain career paths that you could follow, where you get the training, you get the job. I mean, you learn to do a job, you develop a skill, you interview for a position doing that job, and you get the job. Voice acting, and I would dare say probably most creative arts, are not like that. Just because you have the skill doesn't mean you get the job. And just because you get the job doesn't mean you even have the skill. It's a real hit and miss kind of a thing. You guys have certainly seen enough TV shows and movies and even animes where you're like, how the heck did that guy get cast? He's horrible, or she's bad. You see it on you see people on television all the time. They're not good actors. How did they get cast? Well, that's the great mystery. And those of us that audition for things all the time, you can never really know. You do your best, you hope for the best, but it's not a mathematical equation. There is no guarantee. It's a very difficult thing. All creative fields are that way because there are a lot of people that want to do them for a very small number of opportunities. So make sure that you want to do something like this because you have a real passion for it. And if you're not sure, like how do you know? I would dare say if it's something that you do regardless of whether you get hired to do it, if it's something that you find yourself doing because you just love to do it, that's a pretty good indication of whether it's something that you have a real deep love and passion for, not just you want to do this as a job. Like, how many of you guys draw? Look around. A lot of you draw. Now, put your hands down. How many of you only draw something if somebody pays you? Put your hand up. Really? You don't ever draw anything just for the joy of drawing? Okay. You see my point?
Depends on what it is.
Well, my point is still made, even if there's only one. The point is that those of you that draw, you do it because you love it, right? It's not because somebody pays you. You see the difference? I would dare say if Kyle and I were not professional voice actors, we'd still figure out a way to be doing things like this because we love it. Kyle would find a way, I would find a way to get involved in something that would allow me to express this passion that I have for acting or voice work or singing or whatever it would be. Whether we get paid or not is that's a good thing, it's an extra bonus, but that's not the key. And it shouldn't be the key. So there is a little bit of insight to that part of the business. Yes.
I actually do have a question for Mr. Mignogna. In D. Gray Man, when you played that clown, was that, did the engineers have to modify that voice? That did not sound like you at all, and I could usually pick out your voice.
Well, they modified it in that they added some like delay on it, like just like some echo effects and stuff. But no, it was me. It was me. In fact, that was one of the things that I loved about that character was that it's always fun to play characters that you are not immediately recognized as.
I'm like, he's psychotic, I love it.
He's psychotic, I love it. I'll take that as a compliment.
I choose you.
What have been your favorite projects and why?
Ooh, favorite project. Dragon Ball Z led to everything else, so that will always be special to me. But my favorite career achievement is getting to be in Wreck-It Ralph for 10 seconds. And the reason I'm in Wreck-It Ralph for 10 seconds is because Disney wanted to get the voices of these actual characters. So I did Ryu in Street Fighter 4, everything since then. There have been other Ryus in the past. Obviously, the project you were on, the anime version of Street Fighter, and there's been some other games, and obviously in Japanese and everything. But ever since Street Fighter 4, I've been very blessed to be part of that cast. And so that's who Disney looked to, and they said, who's the current voice of Ryu? And they dug around, called my agent, called me up, and she calls and goes, Disney wants you. I go, yes, I'll do it for free. It's like, no, you're not gonna do it for free. It's like, this wasn't about money. This was about another childhood dream. It's like, I want to be in a Disney movie. Ah! And then you see what the problem is now all these animated movies are done with big movie stars, right? And the actual experienced voice actor people get the little bit parts. And that's still true. I mean, yeah. It's,
Who did you play in Wreck-It Ralph?
Ryu. In the beginning, there's Street Fighter. There's a little segment, and then they talk about, let's go to Tappers, Ken. And then they went to Tappers. There's a world building thing, and you see Sonic for a second, and he says, if you die in the game, you die in real life. It's like, okay. And I thought, oh, these are just disposable cameos, it has nothing to do with the plot. And then they put out a press release. And it's like, oh, I guess I'm in it. So yeah, literally, childhood dream come true. That was amazing. I'm so proud of that. Even though it's super, super short, it's just a couple of lines. But it's like, man, that's awesome. I feel so lucky.
I had been voice acting for a long time before Fullmetal. I'd probably done 50 or 60 shows by the time Funimation did Fullmetal Alchemist. But I had never done anything that really grabbed me the way that did. It was a real profound experience. I love that little pipsqueak. And it was a wonderful experience. I mean, I think most people, I would dare say, you could spend your entire career doing hundreds of things and never get the chance to do something like Ed in Fullmetal. It was a great character, and I was very honored to be a part of it. Having said that, that's the favorite anime project that I've ever worked with. Ouran High School is a very close second place. I don't even know why. It appeals to some darker thing. I don't even know why, but I love it. And then, those are the voice acting things that I've really enjoyed. There are several. I mean, that I've been very honored to be a part of. But I would have to say that probably fulfilling my childhood dream of playing Captain Kirk. Now, granted, I had to pay for it all, and I'm not being paid. It's not I'm not making any money at it, but kind of brings us back to the last thing we were talking about, doesn't it? It's something I've always dreamed of doing, and getting the chance to play this character that I loved and considered like a father figure when I was a little boy is probably the neatest, most unique, and wonderful thing that I've gotten to do, apart from the voice acting work that I've gotten to do. Yes?
Okay, when it comes to actually having to go to the studio and work, what are the average hours y'all have to put in daily?
Well, that would depend on what you're doing at the studio. For instance, ironically, any Bleach fans here? Bleach? Well, last week I did something very sad. I recorded my last lines as Ikuku for Bleach. It was a half an hour session. So, I mean, if you're doing something that you've got 300 lines, you'll be there for, 4 or 5 hours, But if you've just got a handful of lines, then you'll be there for half an hour. Or, it really depends on what they need you for on any given day. The studio that does Bleach also records Naruto, and also records a couple of other shows. So if you happen to be playing characters in Naruto and Bleach and maybe something else, then they may have you come in and do an hour for Bleach, 2 hours for Naruto, you know what I'm saying? But it really just depends on what character you're playing and how much time they need you for. You never know. I was very surprised and saddened by Ikuku's last line of dialogue. I was like, that can't be it. I mean, it's so not resolved. I mean, it was a very conversational line of dialogue, and I'm like, really? He doesn't get killed? Or can we have a little more closure here? Maybe, Ikuku gets promoted, or Ikuku opens a chain of restaurants, or goes back to college, or gets a degree, or whatever, something. But it was a very anticlimactic last line. But Bleach is over. But I use that as an example because I was literally there for 15 minutes.
What he said. Yes, Goku.
So a lot, part of voice acting is acting, obviously. But have you ever had any parts for either of you cats that are just you didn't have to really act at all? It was very relatable. So you just, hey, I'll get to go in and be myself because I relate to this so much.
There have been times where the director will just be honest and it's like, just use your normal voice, just be you. That's easy. Be myself. I mean, but you're seeing the script 10 seconds before you're performing it. This is why cold reading is such an important skill to have as an actor. Not just voice actor, but acting in general. And improv is another key thing. That's another thing that a class you can take while you're on your journey to hone your skills. And acting classes was something that I took after I became a professional voice actor. I did it backwards. But I still became a better actor because of it. It's like, absolutely, lawyers go to law school, doctors go to medical school. It just makes sense. There's things that, no matter how much natural talent you have or people think you have, it has to be chiseled away so you can become a better actor at that. And when you go in and do anime, it's a technical skill on top of having those acting skills because you're matching lip sync and everything. Yeah.
Actually, Kyle was one of the 2 people I said I knew. Remember I said I know 2 people of all the voice actors I know?
Who's the other one? You gonna out him?
I better not. No, I'm not going to out him. No, I'm not going to out him. But you'd certainly know him if I mentioned his name. Yeah, there are certainly characters. I mean, you know what? In answer to your question, the goal of voice acting is not to change your voice. The goal of voice acting is to play the role accurately and authentically, and believably, right? The example that I use is, pick any actor who's done hundreds of characters in movies, Robert De Niro. He plays all these different roles, but he still sounds like Robert De Niro in everything he does, pretty much. Because the goal is not to come up with a new voice for every character. The goal is to play that character honestly. So while you could probably take one line of dialogue from Dark Mousy in Dean Angel, and another line from Tamaki, and another line from Kurtz Weber in Fullmetal Panic, and maybe even a line from Zero in Vampire Night, and you could string them all together and go, oh, this is the same guy. Clearly it's the same guy. If you were to watch the shows, the characters themselves are very different. Their personalities are different. So the goal is not to always change your voice as much as it is to just play the role believably.
That's what I meant, was a relatable character. A character that you related to so much you didn't have to act as another character. You related to that character.
There are definitely those things. In fact, I think a good actor will tell you that your performance will be better if you find something to relate to any character you play, any role you play. If you can find something about that character that you connect with, it's going to make your performance better, If you're sitting there the whole time going, I don't get this guy, he's stupid, he's dumb, I don't get, why did he say that, why does he do this is dumb. Probably that's going to come through in your performance. The audience may not quite know exactly what it is, but they're getting the impression that this guy's not really into this very much. He's kind of dialing it in, as they say. He's just doing the lines, getting a paycheck, you know what I mean? You can always, I think you can tell when people are really into what they're doing, and they're really enjoying it, and they're giving it their full concentration and all of their love. And even if a character is like you, you're going to find that character in situations that you are not in, and therein comes the acting. So let's say if what's his name? If Hiroki Takasugi from Princess Nine is a character that I feel is very much like me naturally, even if I feel like, I totally relate to this guy, he's just like me. In this scene, he's playing baseball, and he just rounded first base, and he twisted his ankle and went down hard. Well, I didn't, right? He did. So there's still the acting of the scene and trying to communicate vocally what's going on, what he's feeling, that I'm not at the moment necessarily feeling. So even if you relate to a character, there's going to be an element of performance and acting and communicating of emotions that you're not feeling at the time, Yes?
Do you have a favorite type of character that you like to play?
I love the more cartoony, over-the-top ones, just because I grew up, my goal is to work in domestic cartoons, even though I'm a huge anime fan. I love video games, and I'm so blessed that I get to work in both genres. But I have more fun voicing Ox King on Dragon Ball Z than most of the other characters because he's just goofy and silly. But I also love doing villain voices. Aizen in Bleach is just like this calm, collected. He's not over the top. He's just very, not one note, but he's more subtle. And of course, I think anything that's not you, as an actor, that's the whole point. We want to inhabit other people's skins for the role. And the cop-out answer is anything. Anytime I get to play something, whether it's a recurring character, a large character, or a small character, it's not me. I get to be someone else. That's the fun of it all.
Yeah, that's what he said. Absolutely. As soon as you pick one that you really like, then you start thinking of things about other kind of characters that you really like too. Like I love playing, young heroic kind of characters, but then the bad guys are always a lot of fun because I'm not a homicidal maniac or a pervert, contrary to what you may read. And so it's really fun to play those characters. Like Kyle said, the whole point of acting is to portray someone that is not you. So whatever that character is always really fun.
Let's go to the back of the room, yes.
Do you have an all-time favorite line that you say? Give me a hard one.
Wow, all-time favorite line. It's usually what I get asked to say the most. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, because you can apply that to anything in life. You think about it, it's like, all right, I'll call you later. Next time on Dragon Ball Z. I gotta go brush my teeth. Previously on Dragon Ball Z. You can just insert that in anything in life, and then it becomes funny or really cool. I don't know.
If you'd have asked us that question 10 years ago, we may have had a favorite line. But after you have the privilege of doing a lot of really great lines, it's impossible to pick one. I could sit here all day and rattle off things that I really loved getting to say. Certainly, half the things Edward Elric ever said were really fun. There was one that I didn't even remember saying. Somebody wrote me one time and said, I really loved it when you said, there's so many people whose asses I have to kick. I have to start a list just to keep track of them. And I was like, I said that? I love that. I had no idea I even said it. I didn't remember. And therein is another thing about anime. You do it one time. And if you do it right the first time, you move on. So you don't memorize the scripts. And 3 months later, you don't even remember necessarily what you said. So it's kind of fun when you guys come and remind us of what we've said. I certainly love that one. And, Tamaki, of course, he's got a lot of wonderful lines, too. I'm always, if I apply Kyle's formula of what you're asked to say the most, then I guess my favorite line should be, what if I let you drink it from my mouth? But I'm not a pervert, so that's not my favorite line. I'm going to say it's not. But it would be impossible to pick just a favorite. There are too many wonderful things that we've both gotten to be a part of to narrow it down to one. That would be like me saying, what's your favorite breath of air you ever breathed? I mean, it's like, it's really hard. It's really hard to say. Yes, sir. Yes, you. Yes.
When one of the shows that you've been in it's a video game, how do you go about portraying that role in a different medium?
It's pretty much the same.
Yeah. If it's like a Naruto game or a Dragon Ball Z game, we're asked to reprise those characters, and obviously we're not going to go on some tangent and make the character something that they're not, because the fans would revolt, first of all. It just doesn't make sense to change something that has been established. So the only difference, I guess, is in a video game session, you're staring at a script and that alone. There's usually no graphics done, and if there is, maybe it's a cutscene, maybe it's been crudely animated, but you're not going to see the final version. Whereas in anime, it is. There's the final. That's what viewers will see. That is exactly how it's going to appear. So that's the only real difference. You'll hear the Japanese performance, and then you're laying down a couple of takes, maybe in one take, maybe in 5, and then you move on. You do all the conversational stuff first, and then all the loud power-up yells and the attacks and the dying screams at the end, because that tends to throttle your voice, and then you can't talk the rest of the day.
Yeah, I would say exactly what he said. Again, the only thing I would add to it is that in a video game, as you guys well know, depending on, sometimes there will be alternate story arcs, depending on what you choose, right? In an anime series, this is the story. You do that scene and it goes to that scene. Whereas you may have extra things to do in a video game because, well, if they chose this, then this happens. And so you might have alternate scenes, to record, or a different ending depending on, on the way the player plays the game. But those are pretty much the only difference. There are a lot more, I would say there are a lot more fighting sounds, in-game noises, obviously, in a video game than there would be in the anime. A lot, because the whole point of the game is, whatever, battling or fighting bad guys or monsters or spirits or whatever. So you have to record all of those sounds. And it's not enough to record them once. You have to record all of them, like 3 or 4 times. Like the director will say, okay, short punch, give me 3. And you gotta go, and give them 3 little variations. Because the player doesn't want to, every time he punches, exactly the same, right? Okay, now you just got kicked in the stomach, medium kick in the stomach, give me 3, right? So just change it up, right? So you have a lot more of those kind of things in a video game than you would in an anime series.
I will take you, sir, with the glasses.
That's really not that distinct in this crowd, but
Okay.
Yes.
One of the things that I'll say I found most endearing about Fullmetal Alchemist was the long-running gag about Edward being short. And I'm wondering kind of how that came together creatively. How much of that was the original Japanese? How much of that was written in the dialogue? And how much of that was you, Vic, kind of improvising with?
Well, I mean, it's clearly established in the original Japanese. I mean, that was part of the gag from the very beginning, is that the older brother was shorter than, was smaller than the younger brother, and he has a real chip on his shoulder about it, The only thing I would say is that when we did it into English, perhaps the translation of whatever Ed was yelling in Japanese wouldn't quite work in English. You know what I mean? I don't know, I can't quote it, but I'll give you an example. Sometimes when you translate direct Japanese, it doesn't make a lot of sense in English. So maybe Edward would say, why are you calling me, the actual direct translation, why are you calling me short? I'm not short and it makes me angry. I mean, what? I can't say that, you see what I mean? So once the direct translation is made, then a creative writer, somebody at Funimation will go, okay, why don't we say, who you calling a pipsqueak? I'm still growing, you backwater desert idiot, So they'll do the same thing, but they'll make it a little more creative, a little more colorful, and then change it up, each time he freaks out. But a lot of times the direct translation would not quite be the same. So the writers at Funimation would put their own little magic into it. And then of course, I'm not one who likes to scream. Believe it or not, I don't like to scream a lot. It takes its toll on you after a while. So we would always save all of the short rants to the end of the session, like Kai was talking about a minute ago. You save all the big yelling to the end, because once you yell for a while, your voice kind of tires out. You sound a little bit more like this, and you can't go back and do the normal dialogue lines. So you would always save the screaming short rants. And the other funny thing is that when you're screaming into a microphone, obviously the engineer needs to change the recording level. Because if he sets it for this, see? It just pins the needle. So the first couple of times we recorded these, I would scream and the engineer wasn't ready for it. And he would be like, we need to do it again. And I'm like, really? We're gonna do it again? So after the first session or two, you know, we would get to the point where we knew, okay, this is a screaming line. He's getting ready to lose it again. Poor Ed's gonna throw another tantrum. Turn the recording level way down so we don't have to, do it 3 and 4 and 5 times. But yes, that's the short rant story. Yes.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, it's a sore spot when you have celebrities and established TV actors that come in and they don't really audition. Their agents just get them the work and they make millions of dollars for something that we've worked our whole lives to do. And and my whole thing is, you do a movie like Shrek, right? It's a family film. What 10-year-old knows or cares that it's Mike Myers, Cameron Diaz, and Eddie Murphy, really? I mean, the grown-ups might, and I get it, you need a name for live action stuff, but do you really need it for animated necessarily? Not to say that they all do bad performances, but not all of them give good performances either. Disney and Pixar tend to pick people that are good at it. But sometimes DreamWorks is just like, okay, we're just gonna get famous people and like, Chris Rock, I make $1 million, I go in the booth. But he's playing himself. Everybody in Madagascar is being themselves, right? They're not, I would hasten to say, they're not really acting. But yeah, it's like, and then it's just a stickling point. It's like, why does Cameron Diaz make $20 million for a voice role? And we could get someone like Wendy Lee to go in and give a performance that's just as good, if not better, for a lot less. And especially in this economy when everyone's trying to save money and they're trying to be cheap and all that stuff, and we usually get the, nickel and dimed a lot. It's like, oh, you're on this project, we can't really pay you that much. It's like, yeah, because you blew it all on so-and-so A-list actor to come in on the project. Well, you oughta. Yeah, and like, speaking of Wendy Lee, her and Billy West from Futurama, they've been hired by Hollywood studios to teach the celebrities to act like them. How's that for a slap in the face?
There is inequality all around. And if you focus too much on it, it'll drive you crazy. What I would encourage you guys to focus on in your lives, wherever you are, and I think it's good for us to do as well, so we don't go insane. Be grateful. Be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for where you are, because there are millions of people in the world who would kill to have what you have, or be where you are, or get the opportunities you have. I promise you. I promise you. And so I feel the same way that Kyle does. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to hear somebody knowing how much money they made doing something, and you feel like you could do just as well, and you would have taken 1/10 what they paid that person. But if you dwell on those kind of things, they make you cynical, and they make you discontented and angry, and unpleasant. It makes your life unpleasant. So when I find myself getting upset about something I didn't get, I have to try to step back and go, oh my gosh, you have already been more blessed in your life now than you ever deserved. If it all ended today, you have gotten to do more and be a part of more than most people would ever dream. So stop looking at what you don't have and be grateful for what you do have. I'll even let you guys in on a little secret. I have an alarm set on my phone every day at noon, my alarm goes off, even when I'm in the recording booth, which the directors hate. Because even when your ringer's turned off, your alarm still goes off, right? But I set an alarm for noon because I wanted to remind myself to be grateful every day. So every day at noon, if I'm driving in the car, if I'm in a booth, if I'm having lunch, no matter, if I'm on the phone, if that alarm goes off, I'll be like, can you hold it, give me 1 second? And I'll just turn away and I'll say a little prayer of thanks. Just 5 seconds. Just 5 seconds to focus on being thankful for what you have and who you are. And that's, I'm not saying that to say, oh, like, you should be a better person and you know, I'm saying it because I think it makes your quality of life better. I struggle with the same. I mean, if you're in any field, you have an ambition to do more in your field. You want to aspire to more than you are and to get the next opportunity. And that's completely normal. But don't let it consume you. Don't let it make you, cynical and in a bad mood. Why is that guy? Why did he get that? I don't get that. That just makes your life not as happy. Did I pick the last one or did you?
I guess it's my turn. I'll take front row there. Yes. I did a line that I don't want to quote here because it's a little R-rated, but in Naruto, no, there was a double entendre line Kiba says. When you read it, it just sounds, your mind goes, what, really? And the director, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, goes, good luck. That was her director. That was her direction. That's all she said. Good luck. And then she proceeded to laugh as I said the line, completely cracked up, and it took 5 minutes to get it right. I'm just going to keep you guessing. I don't know.
I want to know what it is. I've never gotten this direction, but somebody told me at ADV many, many years ago, there was a director that worked there named Stephen Foster. And Stephen Foster prided himself on being very esoteric, very out there and in his direction. And somebody told me that they had delivered a line for him in some show, and he got onto the talkback speaker and he said, in the microphone, and he said, all right, what you just gave me was very red. Give me more blue. Guess what time it is? Take a question, please. Go ahead.
Okay, we're taking a question. Okay, yellow hair, yes.
I forgot my question.
It's Rubik, isn't it? Give him about 5 seconds.
Sorry.
What was your favorite series to dub?
Favorite series to dub? Well, again, I'm a little biased with Dragon Ball Z because I started as a fan and then I got to be on the show, and that is a feeling that's indescribable. When you're a fan of something, then you get to be a part of it. So yeah, but I mean, I feel so lucky, to go back to the grateful part, that I get hired again, and I liken what we do to drug addiction. Even though I've never done a drug in my life, you chase the high. We love what we do so much that we crave more of it. That's why we continue to do what we do, because it feels so good and it makes worth every bit of struggle and depression and like, I can't believe they hired that guy. It makes it all worth it. Because then you get that it's okay. We like you too.
I would say Fullmetal, probably. For the longest time, I refused to answer that question. Because Kyle's the same way. I mean, we love you guys. We love fans and the way they are supportive and encouraging of our work. And so when a fan comes up to me, if this adorable girl right here in the front row were to come up to me and go, what's the favorite character you ever played? I'm looking at her. And I'm thinking, she's probably hoping I'm going to say Tamaki. Right? And then some other girl comes dressed as Yuki from Vampire Night and says, what favorite character do you ever play? I'm thinking she probably would love for me to say, oh, I like zero. You know what I mean? So for the longest time, I would try to give the fan service and say whatever the fans, oh, I really like zero. You know what I mean? But then when we finished Brotherhood, and I found myself staring at the last line on the last page of the script, and I was like, holy crap, this is it. This is, in all likelihood, the last thing I will ever say as Edward. And I got really choked up. I even put my phone on the windowsill of the studio and recorded myself doing that last line when he's on the train. And he's like, there's no such thing as equivalent exchange. It doesn't exist. That whole thing. So after we finished Brotherhood, I had to kind of acknowledge that Fullmetal was the favorite thing that I'd ever done. But like I said earlier, Oran High School, very close second place. Sorry?
I got another question really quick. Do you remember me? I was a female boy Mustang when you were doing a panel with Travis.
Oh my gosh, that would have been a long time ago. When was it? When was that?
I don't remember, but it was like my third convention, and I was in the male uniform, and Travis was sitting there. I go, Travis, I got a surprise for you. He goes, oh really? I took the male pants off, and there was a mini skirt.
You know, Travis is a big star now, and he will never live down the whole miniskirt thing. It's the funniest thing. He's doing all these big, huge things now, but there's always going to be the Mustang miniskirt thing. I love it. I love it.
I remember you specifically trying so hard not to laugh that you slammed your head.
Well, when somebody rips their pants off, it's funny. And it's even funnier when there's a dress underneath. I love it. Question? Who's got a question? Yes, ma'am.
You know how on sometimes some shows there's like one twist that you would never expect coming, or there's one like special surprise. Has there been a moment for you guys when you've been on a show and you see that special surprise like, whoa, I did not see that coming?
I wouldn't have anticipated the character change in Bleach, but I was already told about it when I got cast. Because, spoilers, it's been out for so many years, if you haven't seen it by now, or, yeah. But anyway, Eisen appears to be a good guy. And you have every indication that he's good, trustworthy, and everything, and then he betrays and stabs Momo. And then you're like, oh, wow. What?
My inner Ikitake cosplay just wanted to yell.
Right. And yeah, that was such a cool thing to play. Because, you know, he's always been mysterious and creepy and but friendly, but you never quite knew where he was coming from, and it's like, oh, okay. I kind of wish they hadn't told me that. I wish I didn't kind of read up on like, oh, I got that character? Wikipedia. But they told me, congratulations, you got the villain of the show. I'm like, he's the villain? He looks like Clark Kent. And then he becomes Superman, you know, a swirl and everything. Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things I love about anime, is that they always throw curveballs at you. There have been a lot of shows that I've done where something happened, I'd be like, whoa, whoever thought of that idea, you know? How'd they ever come up with that? What a great twist. One thing that comes to mind, and I hate to keep going back to the Fullmetal dipping into that, but there was a moment in the original series, in the first series, when Ed was fighting Envy at the very end, like episode 50, like at the end, and she runs Ed through, and he falls over, and the blood's coming out, and he's like, he was dead. And I was like, this is a joke, right? Wait a minute. And Mike McFarlane was directing. He's like, all right, come on out of the booth. That's it. I'm like, what? No, it's not. Come on. And he's dead. I'm like, what? I didn't see that coming. Fortunately, that wasn't the end, but he let me believe it was the end for a brief time. So there are a lot of those in anime. I think that's one of the things we love about it, is that it twists you and turns you so well. You know, one moment you're laughing at some comedic thing, and that quick, on a dime, you're crying. They're uniquely gifted in their ability to tell stories like that. That's one of the things we all love about anime. I think we're out of time, aren't we? This, I believe you're right.
Yeah, I'm doing a solo panel here next. And where are you going?
I'm gonna go get a little lunch, and then I'm gonna be back. I've got a Q&A session at 1 o'clock. So you guys, we're so glad you're here, and we'll look forward to seeing you later on. Thanks so much.